Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Baina Midday News, coming to you live from our news hub, Atomic Junction, Benap House, Accra. My name is Fauzi Abdullah. Coming up this afternoon. A sprawling international car theft syndicate with links to Ghana has been uncovered by U.S. authorities. And in business, annual growth in broad money supply decelerated to 16.0% in February 2026 from 33.1% in February 2025. And on the international front, an Israeli airstrike has targeted a group of civilians in northern Gaza, killing at least 5 Palestinians. These and many more stories coming up in the next few minutes. Do stay. You're watching Baina Midday News, and we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at Baina TV. Now to our very first story. A sprawling international car theft syndicate with links to Ghana has been uncovered by U.S. authorities, raising fresh concerns about the country's role as the destination market for stolen vehicles. A 15-count indictment unsealed in a U.S. district court in a district of Columbia has charged 6 individuals over their alleged involvement in a sophisticated operation that stole at least 20 vehicles across the Washington metropolitan area and Pennsylvania before shipping them to buyers in the United States and Ghana. Investigators say the case is only the tip of the iceberg.
Law enforcement agencies believe the network may be connected to the theft of more than 100 vehicles in Washington, D.C. alone, as well as over 30 others in Prince George's County, Maryland, suggesting a much larger pipeline of stolen cars that could have ended up on Ghanaian roads. Authorities also executed a search warrant at an automobile storage facility in Decatur, Georgia, believed to be a key link in the illicit trade supply chain. According to prosecutors, the syndicate employed high-tech methods to steal vehicles, targeting mostly newer models such as Honda Civics, CR-Vs, and Acura TLX and RDX. Using electronic devices, the suspect allegedly reprogrammed vehicles to accept blank key fobs, effectively bypassing security system. Vehicle thefts were carried out using onboard diagnosis tool devices that enabled them to reprogram cars to accept previously blank key fobs. The above OBD2 device was recovered from a stolen vehicle in Pennsylvania in February 2025. The stolen vehicles were then moved to storage locations, including a parking garage in southeast Washington, D.C., where they were disguised by swapping license plates and tampering with vehicle identification number. Investigators say the suspects also disabled GPS and Bluetooth systems to avoid detection before transporting the cars for sale, including shipments destined for Ghana. U.S. prosecutors emphasized that the indictment is only a formal accusation and all defendants are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court.
Moving on, Prempeh College has renewed efforts to recover 1,053,230 Ghana cedis owned by the government of Ghana as compensation for the use of its land in the construction of the Sofo Line interchange. The issue was raised at the Public Accounts Committee sitting in Kumasi on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026, where the school's management appeared to respond to infractions contained in the Auditor General's report.
Headmaster of Prempeh College, Very Reverend Louis Asare, told the committee that the compensation pledge made in 2013 is yet to be fulfilled despite several attempts to secure payment. He explained that the school has written at least 4 formal letters to relevant authorities, including the project consultant, Value Properties, and the Department of Urban Roads, but has only received verbal assurances without any disbursement. Responding to the concern, the Regional Director of Education, Dr. William Kwame Amankra, assured the committee that the matter would be escalated to the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amwakohene, to facilitate payment for the school's development project. A member of the committee and MP of Echiman Nwabieja North, Frank Yabua, who disclosed that he is an old student of the school, urged authorities to prioritize the payment.
Moving on further, the Northern Electricity Distribution Company has seized more than 300 electricity meters from residents accused of power theft during a 2-day dawn operation in Tamale. NEDCO's Operations Communications Manager Maxwell Kotoka said more than 300 people have been found to be bypassing meters and conducting some illegalities.
Officials of NEDCO had earlier said the company was losing about 46% of its electricity to theft, a situation that threatens the firm's financial survival. The losses are particularly severe in the Tamale metropolis, where illegal connections and meter tampering have led to major revenue shortfalls. Mr. Kotoka added that in the process of bypassing the meters, the corporates had damaged many of them, causing financial losses to the company. He warned that the scale of the damage was affecting NEDCO's ability to supply new applicants. Mr. Kotoka also linked the thefts to broader challenges with power infrastructure. He said 7 new transformers had been installed in the Tamale metropolis, with others in Pandai, Ketekrachi, and Bimbila. He noted that 11 transformers had been replaced at the start of the process. Tema metropolis received 7, Pandai 2, while Ketekrachi and Bimbila received 1 each, adding that those found culpable will face legal action. The raids targeted the Kalofin and Kukuo communities between 5:30 and 6:30.
Baina Midday News. We'll go for a quick break, after which we bring you business and more to stay.
A cikin matukar girmamawa da alfahari, dattawa, iyalai da wakilan zuriya na kabilar Chamba a Ghana suna gayyatar ku da zuciya daya domin halartar wannan babban tarihi, kammala al'adun gargajiya da kuma nadin sarauta na Ubaya Alhaji Ibrahim Hudu Kuta da Ford a matsayin sabon sarkin kabilar Chamba a Ghana. Ku zo mu yi wannan gagarumin biki tare, mu shaida sabon jagoranci na haɗin kai a cikin al'umma. Za a gudanar da wannan biki ne a ranar Lahadi, rana 26 ga Afrilu 2026 a babban masallacin ƙasa na Ghana. Bayani a tuntubi 0244-73-7747 ko kuwa 0244-622-777. Halattar ku za ta kara wa wannan taro armashi da daraja.
Kada ku rasa shirin siyasa da kuka fi so tare da Amir Mukhtar Mauni, showing Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. only on Baina TV.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
The word Islam is an Arabic word which means to surrender. As a Muslim, you surrender yourself to the Almighty Allah, your Creator. To do that, we need to understand the concept of Islam. Baina TV comes your way with the most educative and informative Islamic program, Understanding Islam. On this show, we answer all the questions regarding Islam, the do's and the don'ts of the Sharia, and many others. Make a date with me, Aisha Muhammad Saqib, this and every Friday at 10:30 a.m. as we educate ourselves with the knowledge of the Deen.
You're welcome back and thanks for staying. If you just tuned in, you're watching Baina Midday News and we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at Baina TV. Now let's delve into the world of business, and the annual growth in broad money supply decelerated to 16.0% in February 2026 from 33.1% in February 2025, marking a significant slowdown in liquidity expansion. According to the March 2026 Monetary Policy Report by the Bank of Ghana, this outcome reflected a decline in contribution from net foreign assets, while the contribution of net domestic assets remained moderate, consistent with low liquidity creation in the banking system.
This primarily resulted in low money in circulation, affecting credit expansion and growth in the real sector of the economy. According to the report, the contribution of NFA to overall liquidity growth declined markedly to 5.7% in February 2026, compared with 27.3% a year earlier. The report also stated that the contribution of NDA to M2 plus growth increased to 10.3% from 5.8% in February 2025. This development was largely underpinned by increases in net claims on government and other items. On the other hand, the contribution of NCG to NDA growth was 3.2% in February 2026, compared to a contribution of negative 0.4% a year earlier, reflecting in a part an increased preference for government securities by the banks. Other items net accounted for 18.5% of the growth in M2 plus growth, compared with negative 5.2% in February 2025. These upward pressures on NDA were, however, partially offset by a decline in the contribution of claims on the private sector, including public enterprises, during the review period.
Now to some news beyond our borders. An Israeli airstrike has targeted a group of civilians in northern Gaza, killing at least 5 Palestinians, according to Gaza's Civil Defense Agency. Israel has committed 2,400 violations of the ceasefire agreement with Hamas in October, Gaza's government media office said. These included targeted strikes, arrests, blockades and forced starvation of Gaza's residents.
More than 20,000 children were killed by Israeli forces in Gaza in 2 years of its genocidal war, according to a Save the Children report in September. The charity said that, on average, at least one child was killed every hour, over thousands of them under 1 year old, with thousands more suffering injuries, trauma, or separation from parents. By November 2023, the situation in Gaza was already described by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres as, quote, a graveyard for children, unquote. Gaza's children face lasting trauma as speech loss cases rise. Last week, the gender equality organization UN Women reported that an average of at least 47 women and children were killed each day during the war in Gaza. More than 38,000 in total. Between October 2023, 2,000 women and 16,000 girls. Since the U.S. brokered ceasefire took effect in October, at least 786 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces, according to Gaza's health ministry. At least 32 of those deaths were in this month alone. Among them, Al Jazeera journalist Mohammed Wisha, who was killed in a drone strike west of Gaza City on April 8 into Gaza, where about 2.4 million Palestinians, including 1.5 million displaced, are living in desperate conditions.
And in the world of sports, Chelsea have sacked head coach Liam Rosenior after 106 days in charge of the club. Rosenior signed a 5.5-year deal after arriving from French club Strasbourg, also owned by Chelsea co-owners Todd Boehly and Clearlake Capital. But he managed just 11 wins in 23 matches across all competitions, and Tuesday's 3-0 defeat at Brinton was Chelsea's 5th consecutive league defeat without scoring, the club's worst scoreless run since 1912.
Rezenoir described the performance as indefensible and unacceptable after facing angry chants from Chelsea's travelling supporters on the south coast. The defeat led to the Blues slipping to 7th place in the Premier League, 7 points behind Liverpool, who occupy the 5th and final Champions League spot. Sources said Bournemouth manager Andoni Iraola, Fulham head coach Marco Silva, and former Dortmund boss Edin Terzic are under consideration as possible replacements for Rezenoir. Iraola, 43, announced last week that he will leave Bournemouth at the end of the season, while Silva's contract at the rivals Fulham is due to expire in July. Terzic, meanwhile, was under consideration by Tottenham to replace Thomas Frank when the Dane was sacked earlier this season. Callum McFarlane will take over as interim manager until the end of